All right, Graman versus Graman. The rule requested is the final hearing. Rule is requested, so anyone who is not a party and is going to be a witness must go outside of the courtroom and remain outside of the courtroom until you're called to testify. You are not to discuss the testimony of any other witness with anyone prior to yourself testifying. Counsel are under a continuing duty to ensure that the rule is complied with. Anyone who violates that rule will not be allowed to testify and be subject to contempt of court. Mr. Holly, you may call your first witness. Is this not a final hearing? So, Mr. Graman, you are the plaintiff in the case, so for that reason, you are entitled to put on your proof first. So you may call your first witness. All right. Ma'am, if you are a potential witness to be called by either party, you'll need to step outside. Mr. Graman, this is your opportunity to present whatever proof you wish to put on. So if you wish to call any witnesses or testify yourself. All right. He's choosing not to present any proof on his petition. Mr. Holly, do you wish to put any proof on in the, all right? Call your first witness.
Rule 35. The court ordered at one of these hearings that both parties receive a psychological assessment from Dr. Janie Berryman. That's been submitted to the court. The court has relied on that somewhat for some of the other temporary hearings that we've had, I think. And I would ask that both of those be put into evidence at this time.
You're talking about both the exhibit, the psychological, Rule 35 psychological examination of Mr. Graman and Mrs. Graman?
Yes.
All right, I will have both of those marked. They will be filed under seal as they previously have been, but I will order that they both be marked as Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2. Exhibit 1 will be Mr. Graman's psychological report, and Mrs. Graman's will be marked as Exhibit 2. Mrs. Graman, if you'll come up, please.
State your name for the court, please.
Tony Graman.
Ms. Graman, you've testified twice already, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you understand you're here today to request from the court a divorce from Mr. Graman on your counter petition.
Yes.
And let's talk a little bit about the facts that gave rise to the divorce, what brought about the divorce. You, first of all, as a matter of housekeeping, you were married on August 7th, 2020, correct?
Yes.
And it wasn't shortly thereafter you had some serious issues with Mr. Graman, correct?
Yes.
So starting even in September of 2020, tell the court a little bit about what you observed about Mr. Graman, and you guys had a cat.
Yes.
Tell them about what Mr. Graman did to that cat.
Well, we first received that cat from a neighbor. We had just moved in. They were moving out. They were going all the way to California. And they said, we can't take this cat with us. Would y'all like this cat? And I said, yeah, we would love it. This cat had a bit of a problem. It would chew up phone cords and laptop chargers. It just had a thing with cords. Well, Brian got so angry with it, he would use those cords that the cat chewed up and would beat it. And with one time, he beated it for like 10 to 12 minutes in the shower. And there was blood on his hands. I thought this cat was gonna die. It was like screaming, it was real bad. And I begged him to stop. And when he did, he turned around and looked at me and then went into our bedroom and destroyed our bedroom.
And in September 2020, he also brought home a puppy.
Yeah.
Did he do basically the same thing to you?
Pretty much, yeah. He was very abusive to any animal we brought into the home, especially that dog. I don't know what it was. It was a really sweet dog, and it was a puppy, so, I was getting into stuff that it shouldn't have. And I was working 12-hour shifts at a factory, so this dog was crated up for like 12 hours a day. And I'd get home and I'd make sure to take her out. And so the responsibility is all placed on me. And sometimes he just didn't want to deal with her and would tell me to leave her crated up, like all throughout the night, like just not let her out at all. And of course, I was kind of scared of him at that time, so I didn't put up too much of a fight about that. But what Brian told me, because I was working, he got home early and the dog got into something of mine, and he tried to get it away from her, and she didn't want to give it to him, but I know that dog was pretty scared of him, and it bit him on the hand, and he just started beating it. And when I pulled up, he had it tied up outside. We had this jet ski. He had it tied up outside with the jet ski, and it looked real bad. And he just kept saying, "I want to shoot that dog. I want to kill that dog." And I called my mom. I said, "Can y'all take this dog?" They said, "Yeah," and they raised the dog and they took it in. So yeah.
Was he using marijuana shortly after the time you married?
Yeah, he started using on his birthday after we got married. So his birthday's October 21st. He came home high.
Did he drink a lot and smoke marijuana a lot during your marriage?
Yes, almost every day.
Almost every day?
Yeah, marijuana was every day. Like once when he started, it just got a hold on him, and he just kept doing that.
You found out you were pregnant on December 31st, 2021, correct?
Yes.
Did you ask him to stop smoking marijuana while you were pregnant?
Yes, and
What was his response to that?
he refused. He told me go in the other room. I said, "What? Marijuana has a very strong smell, and I don't want to be exposed to smoke of any kind. Cigarettes, marijuana, whatever." He didn't care. He'd bring his friends over, and they'd be smoking downstairs. And yeah, I couldn't necessarily run to my mom and dad's house either, because they were like an hour and a half away, and I had to work. So
In March through July of 2021, his drinking got more severe, did it not?
yes.
What types of things were you having to do based on his drinking?
Was I having to do?
Were you concerned he was going to choke on his
Oh
own life?
yeah, like he
What
was.
did you do?
I would stay up all night whenever he would be intoxicated like that, because there were times he was so drunk if I didn't roll him over, he would have choked and died in his vomit. He even peed on the staircase twice, going up the steps trying to get to the bathroom. And I told him the next day, I said, you did this. And I cleaned it up, and he laughed about it. Like, he wasn't even embarrassed. He just thought it was funny. And I said, that's not funny.
So in July of 2021, he started getting physical with you, did he not?
Yeah.
Explain to the court what started then.
Well, I was about 8 months pregnant, and I didn't want to work overtime at the factory anymore. I wanted to stay home for a little bit because my job was pretty physical, and he didn't like that idea.
Real quick, was he working then?
I believe he was at that time, but there was like a 3 or 4 month time span within pregnancy where he was not working.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
But
What happened physically to you then?
he hit me on the back of the head, like with his hand.
Why did he do that? What reasoning was there that there was a
I
reason? Not
told-
that there is an acceptable
yeah.
reason, but what was his reason for doing it?
Well, I told him, I said, I don't want to work overtime anymore. And he threatened me with, How did
hard
he put it? He said, I'll take your baby away from you. And that's what set me off. I was like, what is the matter with you? You're going
How
to take
hard
your
did he
kid.
hit you?
Hard enough to hit me to the floor and realize I was in real trouble.
He knocked you down to the floor?
Yeah, knocked me down to the floor.
So Pearson was born, and his birth date is August 30th, 2021, correct?
Yes.
And for the record, that's the only child that you have with Mr. Graman that's here today.
Yes.
And starting out with Pearson, what kind of help did Mr. Graman give you when he was born?
None. In fact, it was the opposite. It was easier to do it by myself than with Brian around.
Did you ever change his diaper?
Once.
Ever bottle fed him?
No.
Would he get up at all when Pearson would cry?
No.
Do you ever bathe him?
No.
Do you ever comfort him?
No.
December of 2021, did Mr. Graman threaten suicide?
Yes.
That wasn't the first time he threatened suicide, was it?
No.
This one was a pretty serious threat, though, was it not? Tell the court about that.
Well, there was 2 times. The first time, I don't want to get the 2 mixed up, so I'll just tell it how I remember.
All
The first time, his dad came to town and visited, and they actually had went to the strip club like the night before, and he called me while at the strip club asking for sympathy, and I'm like, whatever, that's weird, you shouldn't be there. And then the next morning he woke up and it was just out of nowhere, he just looked at me and he said, I'm going to take that baseball bat and bust out every window in our room. I thought I was dreaming. I said, what? And he got up and he grabbed a bat. I said, what is the matter with you? And he said, and then he grabbed a gun. He said, I'm going to go kill myself. And like went in the other room. I'm freaking out. I called his dad. I said, you need to get over here because something's wrong with him. And he came over and his dad simply said, what is the matter? You know, something's obviously wrong. Your wife's crying over here in the corner and you're looking crazy. And what did Brian do? He beat up his dad in response to that.
His dad got into a physical altercation there?
Yeah, yes, outside of the house.
Okay.
And then
How long did that last?
just a couple minutes, and he hopped in the car and he said, we're leaving. And his dad's, I guess they were married, his wife looked at me and he said, you need to get away from him. And I didn't know what to do. I just stood there.
In February 2022, he beat up another man in a parking lot. Did he
Yes.
tell you about that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the court what he said about that.
Somebody had hit his car, his truck, and he got so angry that he went over to this man and just beat him up.
You ever threatened to kill your family?
Yeah.
Tell the court what he said. And what was it in response to?
Yeah, we were living with my parents at the time, and he was arguing with me. I don't even remember what about. And I had Pearson with me, and I said, I just want to go upstairs right now and get away from you. And he said, if you go upstairs, I'll kill your dad or your family. And so I stayed downstairs with him.
You felt like he meant that, or?
Yeah.
So in the summer of 2022, would he be drinking around Pearson?
Yeah.
Tell the court about what he would do when he was intoxicated with Pearson.
Whenever Brian drinks, he thinks is inevitable and can do anything and is happy. And he put Pearson was only like a year old, maybe. He couldn't support his neck very well, and he would put him on his shoulders and run around with him on his shoulders. And I would beg him to stop. And there was one time he was actually mad at me, and he put Pearson on his shoulders and ran outside of the house running with him on his shoulders to scare me.
Again, in that summer of 2022, did he put his hands on your throat and try to choke you?
Yes.
Tell the court about that.
He just got angry with me, and I don't even remember what the altercation was even about. He just decided to put his hands around my throat and start squeezing.
So in September of 2022, did he also try to choke you with a seatbelt?
Yes.
Tell the court about that and kind of what started it.
Yeah, we kind of had a long day that day. We were in between looking at houses to rent, actually out here in Charlotte. And I can't even remember what started it. I mean, it was always something stupid stuff, and he would escalate it. And he just looked at me and put that seatbelt. Well, he first pulled over real quick in a church parking lot, and he put that seatbelt around my neck and just slammed me to the seat. And I said, "You need to stop." And he did. I mean, I didn't pass out, but, just doing that, why would you do that?
In October of 2022, you guys found a trailer to rent.
Yes, out here in
Okay.
Charlotte.
Where was it?
In Charlotte. here.
Charlotte. Did Mr. Graman do drug deals out of the garage of that?
Yes.
Tell the court about that.
It was weekly. And of course I had my baby. I never did drugs, never wanted to do drugs. And he would invite people over, and they would go and smoke weed in the garage there, and then expect me to cook meals for them and be a little Miss Trophy wife alone in the house with Pearson. Yeah, I don't know what other kind of drugs they were dealing, because I would find stuff out in the garage and wasn't sure what it was, but yeah.
Did he keep drugs in your room at your house?
Yeah, mainly like vapes and marijuana vape pens as well, within reach of Pearson. Whenever I had this nightstand specifically for him, and I put a child lock on it and said, if you have whatever in here that Pearson should not, put his hands on, put it inside of the desk, because I have a lock on it. He would still put it on top of the desk, and
What
he
would
would
he tell you about that?
he'd say, "This is your responsibility since you're a stay-at-home mom. You need to clean up after me and do all this stuff." And he would say, "Pearson shouldn't be in our room anyway." So, okay. Because every day I was cleaning up his mess.
Jump on into early February 2023. Did he ever pull you by a ponytail?
Yes.
Tell the court about that.
Well, I accidentally fell asleep with Pearson, my son, while nursing him to sleep.
I don't know you say accidentally, but I mean, he didn't like for you to fall asleep with Pearson. did
He hated that. He would get very angry, but I'm breastfeeding. I'm exhausted. And going through mental abuse is exhausting in itself, and then taking care of a kid, it's physically, mentally draining. So yeah, I would fall asleep while nursing him. And
This time in February 2023, when you fell asleep, what did he do?
He realized I wasn't in the bed with him. He came stomping in there and grabbed me by my ponytail and carried me back to the room and threw me against the wall.
What was he saying when he did that?
Probably, you stupid B word. You need to be in here with me. Quit falling asleep in here with him. It's different every time, but gist was all the same.
At some point, Pearson had earlier 2023, Pearson would have a negative reaction when he saw Brian. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell the court about what he would do. What
Well-
Pearson would do when he saw Brian, Mr. Graham.
He would just ignore him after a while because, Brian would, because when Pearson was little, of course, he wanted to see and interact with his dad, but it was like every time he came into the house, he would literally step over Pearson, and Pearson would be, Dada, Dada, you know, I want you, Dada. And he would step right back over him and go into the garage and work on cars or do whatever. And Pearson would have a big meltdown because he wanted to see his dad. And then there came a time whenever, you know, that happened for a little bit, and then Brian came back one day, and Pearson heard the door open. He looked over and went right back to doing what he was doing because he was not asking for his dad anymore.
In February 2023 as well, you had an experience driving home from a funeral in Cookville.
Yeah.
Tell the court about that.
Yeah, that was pretty miserable. So we went to a funeral of a mutual friend of ours. They had 3 kids, and one of their daughters died. She drowned in the neighbor's swimming pool. So it was horrific. And we went to their funeral. And Brian was so tore up while the actual family members were keeping it together. And I'm like, you don't need to be sobbing over here, you know, you need to keep it together. So we went out to lunch with them, and Brian started drinking at the Mexican restaurant and drank and drank and drank. And I said, you need to stop because, you know, we gotta go home. And his buddy Josh looked at me and said, make sure you drive. I said, yeah, I will. And we got out to the parking lot, and Brian said, I'm driving. I said, no, you're not. I said, you've been drinking like a fish out, you know? And he grabbed them keys. He said, you're going to do what I say and get in this car. And I did. And he was just ranting the entire time we're in the car. While we were in his lifted truck, we were going over 100 miles an hour down the interstate. And I truly thought I was going to die that day because he was just weaving in and out of traffic. It was really bad, and he was just ranting and driving like a maniac up until we got, I remember I texted a few friends of mine. I said, I just want to let y'all know I love you, because I'm going to die. And we got to this gas station, and he was filling up with gas, and there's these Hispanic people beside of us in their work truck, and he just started throwing all these racial slurs at them for no reason, and they kept it together. So I thought that was weird too, after ranting about, you know, a child losing their life, and then he starts throwing racial slurs at people. It was just really bizarre, the whole thing. Yeah.
Would Brian drink and drive a lot?
Yeah.
There was an
Quite
incident
often.
where you were coming back from the zoo. Tell the court about that. And Brian had a gun. Tell the court about that.
Yeah, we went to the zoo, and that day Brian was not drinking. Me, Brian, and our son, we went to the zoo, and then we were coming back home, and there was this person that was just kind of playing with us, you know, like driving, and which I didn't like that, but Brian normally does, but for some reason he felt a little insecure about that. And then the other driver started pushing us into the barricade. And I was like, I don't know why he is doing that. And Brian had a gun, and he said, I'll shoot him right now. I said, you better not. I said, because he may have a gun, and there's me and Pearson in the car. What if he misses you? And hits our son. And he finally just let off. But yeah, he was ready to shoot this guy.
Feel like if you hadn't stopped him or said that he would have carried on?
Yeah, for sure. His ego was involved at that point. So he was ready to do whatever it took to save his ego.
In general, what would you say to the court about Mr. Graman and his safety measures of guns around Pearson? Does that concern you?
Oh, yes,
How?
highly. He would just leave guns out on the table. I'd ask him to put it away. He wouldn't. There was an incident where my best friend was over visiting me. She was the only friend that was willing to visit me because of Brian. And he came home drunk, and she stayed with us till about 11 o'clock that night. And I was bathing Pearson whenever he came in, and I pulled him out of the tub, and I gave him to Julie. I said, I've got to go get his clothes out of the other room and a diaper. I'll be right back. And just laid him down on the bed, and Brian was in there, and Brian just started like undressing in front of Julie, and Julie was like, that's weird. But as he was doing that, he put the gun that he had in like his back right beside of Pearson's head. And Julie's like, hey, do you realize what you just did? You need to move your gun. He said, he needs to learn about gun safety. And I came back in. I didn't see it there. I guess he had moved it, but yeah, that was that.
Was it a common occurrence for him to leave guns around and not
Yes.
secure them? And Pearson's young
Yeah.
at this point.
Yes, we had a whole gun cabinet. He bought this gun cabinet. It was really pretty and nice, and he barely even used it, actually. He'd just leave them laying around.
I want to hand you a picture and ask you if you recognize that picture.
I do.
And that's a picture of Mr.
Is that
Graman.
shown to Mr. Graman?
He's got a copy of it. I made a copy with him. That's a picture of who?
Brian and my son Pearson.
And where are they and what are they doing?
They are at the church having a supervised visit, supervised by my mom.
Okay, it's the supervised church visits, correct?
Yes,
Yeah. And does he have a gun on him there?
he does. Showing, it's like protruding out of the back of his pants, and his shirt is tucked behind it, so you can see it.
I'd ask for that to be Exhibit 3, Judge. He's identified that. I think the court's got a copy of that in the file. Tried to print that out at home. I didn't make a very good picture, but I think the court's got one in the file.
All
as
right,
well.
have we made any other exhibits?
The psychological exams are
okay.
1 and 2, and I think this
So
was.
Exhibit 3 will be the photo.
That cause you concern about him bringing a gun to church with a visitation for Pierce?
Absolutely, yes.
Based on his history of what he does with weapons, did that cause you concern?
Yes, and that same visit, because my mom was telling me about it, she said it was uncanny that during that same visit, a knife fell out of his pocket and it fell open, some kind of pocket knife.
And your mother's supervising this visit, correct?
Yes,
Do you think he did that to intimidate your mother?
yeah, for sure.
In May of 2023, there was an issue with another bystander at the Dollar General store. Was it Tennessee City? Am I right? Do I remember right? Where was that Dollar General?
Yeah, like right here in Charlotte.
Oh, in Charlotte. Okay. And he came home and he told you all about it.
Yes,
And you recorded that, correct?
yes,
And this is a recording that we played for the court in a prior situation, correct?
yes.
For me to consider it at a final hearing, we've got to put it into evidence. If you want to use it, that's fine, we can play it, but I'm just saying, even though it was played at a prior temporary hearing, this is the final hearing, therefore the evidence that I have to rely upon needs to be introduced into the hearing.
Yes, sir. That's and that's what I was going to ask next, how we wanted to do that. I've got it ready. If I can, I'd like to play that for her then, and we'll go through it.
Oh my God, was she a smart lady to leave? Because I was gonna smash out every motherfucking window on her car and probably put my hands on her. And they'd have never known who did it in that fucking helmet.
Yeah.
Bitch needs to mind her own fucking business. If I wanna drive like a dickhead, that's my choice. I didn't put her ass in danger, I just made her feel fucking salty.
Honey, please stop.
Hey, do you know how much money Daddy spent on dinner tonight at the companies? Daddy's probably gonna get a talking to this week. You know how much golf and dinner was for 12 people? After tip, came out to $11,000 even. That's how much money I spent this afternoon. None of mine. I didn't spend $1 of my money. But I spent $11,000 semesters money today. But guess what? Guess who's getting a motherfucking raise? You not gonna give me a high five?
Oh, I thought you were going for yours.
No, I'm getting. Oh, you want a high five? Daddy's getting a raise. Yeah, buddy. When this school's over, we looking at probably 10 to 15 grand more a year. Which, I mean, that comes out to like $1,200 a month. That's a big deal. It's like $300 a week bonus raise. High five! High five! Oh, did Daddy do good with the city officials? Does Daddy have one hell of a fucking invoice to write up tomorrow? Yes. But Daddy thinks he's part of securing like a $200 million contract. So if that's how it plays out, Daddy's gonna move up the ladder really quick. Daddy really had no place where Daddy was today. I still don't know why Daddy got invited. I don't know. I was like 3 levels shy of every other Messer employee there. But they invited me. And I think they're trying to push me up the totem pole fast. Which, I mean, the next step is like $90,000 a year. Next step after benefits is like $90,000 a year. It's like $75,000 before benefits. But that's like $1,400 a week on a 40-hour week. That's good money. That's putting me a lot fucking closer where I want to be. Bye-bye! It was a trick. It was all about tickles.
Are you ready for that?
Police come knocking. Nobody's driven the car. The car hasn't moved in days. Yada, yada, yada. You don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's not about what they think they know. It's about what can be proved. And they can't prove shit. They might be able to prove the car was at Dollar General. They can prove the car was at Dollar General based on her pictures. But they can't prove I passed her like an asshole. They can't prove I was the driver. They can't prove nothing else. You don't know nothing, don't say nothing if the police come knocking. We don't know shit, nothing. You can literally, if they come knocking on the door, tell them my husband said tell you something dick. Talk to him. You can literally tell them that if they come knocking. Because it's not what they know, it's what they can prove. And they can't prove shit but the car was at Dollar General. That's all they can prove. Because there ain't no cameras outside Dollar General. Can't prove who drove that car. It could have been my fucking buddy, it could have been a fucking coworker, it could have been anybody I went that fucking car with. They don't, it's not about what they think they know, it's about what they can prove. And they ain't able to prove shit with the car said. So, if the cops come knocking, just send them my way tomorrow. Because I would not be surprised, honestly, if they either came knocking here, or is the car registered to your parents' house here?
Right here.
Then they're gonna come knocking here. But they're gonna come knocking. Because I pissed that lady off. Like when I tell you I smoked them fucking tires from the parking spot around the bitch, all the way out the entrance.
So
like
why did she get mad at you?
Because I passed her at like probably 120, 130 miles an hour and
But you
50.
can't just do that to people, Brian.
I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. It's America.
America has laws.
Well, I choose to follow which ones I want to follow.
What
It's
law
a
were you following?
The one I wanted to. That freedom.
Okay.
And I chose to be free and drive fast. And once again, Whether I was wrong or not, it's not about what they think they know, it's about what they can prove, and they can't prove shit. They can't. Even if she had a dash camera, and she caught me going around trying to mock fucking Jesus, they can't prove nothing. Because guess what? Even if it kept track of her speed, it's not a calibrated speed thing in the state of Tennessee. I know the laws, Tony. I ain't getting fucked. They might come try to fuck me, but I will stick my dick so far down their throat they won't know what to do with it. Where's your keys to Focus? I came in a rush because I didn't know if the police was headed this way.
I'll look in here and see if I can find it.
I could use a new set of clubs though. I could use some longer clubs. I was driving, I don't know, 200 yards, 215 yards. I had some fucking terrible shots too. But I had some shots that were fucking A1. Like I finished out of 12 people, I finished 4th. I ain't played golf since last time I went with Phillips and fucking James. Fucking scumbag that lives in our old house. So, I mean, it's been over a year since I played golf, and I came in 4th out of 12 golf players. I fucking represented for my company today, tell me. And then they tried to get me fucking wasted. We were doing $60 shots. One shot, $60 of fucking 1942.
I'm gonna get him.
The liquor we were drinking tonight has existed since 1942, Tony.
Okay, Brian.
So, all right, that's a recording, correct?
That's it.
And he was intoxicated.
Very.
Pearson was there.
Yes.
That's Pearson in the background, crying, correct?
Yeah, demanding attention because he needs it.
And he heard all that language,
Yep.
and he heard that story.
Yes.
Did you think that was appropriate for Pearson?
No.
This was some random person going down the road?
Yes.
Did Brian tell you that?
Yeah.
Mr. Graman tell you that? I'm
Just
sorry.
some older woman. Yes.
Did he tell you why he got mad at her to do all of this?
He was drinking and driving and wanted to go faster than everyone else. And she happened to be a car that was in front of him. And he passed her and almost hit a pedestrian to where, because my mother actually talked to her. We got in touch with her. And this person had to jump into a ditch to get away from him. And so she saw him pull into the Dollar General and she followed him. Her and her sister were in the car and they were two strong women. And they told him what for, and he didn't like that. And they also, because he went into the Dollar General to get more beer, and they told the people at the register, y'all just sold him more beer. This is what just happened. And yeah, he didn't like that. He got confronted, especially by two women. That really hurts his ego too.
Did he tell you about that part?
Yes, so somewhat, but we got a little more information from the two women. Didn't know he almost hit a pedestrian until we talked to the lady.
And he's talking about his job there at Messrs and how he's getting a big contract and those things. Did he eventually get fired from that job?
He did, yes.
Or did he, why did he get fired?
He flipped a very heavy piece of machinery. I think that was after our separation.
So let's get into 2024. Which that was in 2024, the firing and what he talked. talked to you about when he got fired, correct?
Yes.
For the timeline, that's when that was. How did he present that termination of his job to you? What did he say about why he got fired, or how that's going to affect, visitation with Pearson at this point and that kind of thing?
He just said that he accidentally flipped the heavy piece of machinery and that they were gonna let him go, but really he got fired. It's pretty much all that was said about that. And then I believe he sent me a picture of it, actually, of what he flipped. It wasn't a small mistake. I'm sure he was high, because he was high every day, so.
You have knowledge he would go to work that way?
Oh, yeah, he would smoke at work. His friends would literally, would be over at our house and would say, you probably shouldn't smoke at work. And he was in a leadership position as well, like an authoritative role.
What would he say to that?
He'd laugh. He didn't care.
Did he, around that time, start stalking you?
He did.
What was he doing?
Well, there was one incident. I was on my way to work. I used to work at this senior citizen living facility. I was a cleaner. And I would go in on Saturdays because I was part-time, so I chose to do Saturdays because my mom could watch Pearson.
That's in Davidson County?
Wilson.
Wilson County, okay. All
Yeah,
right,
in
go ahead.
Wilson County. And I was on the road at 5:30 in the morning, a.m. And I saw him pass me on the interstate. I was like, oh, gosh, I know he goes to work early in the morning, but also kind of uncanny that I would see him. And I go off to enter onto my exit, which is the Mount Juliet exit, and he follows. And something in my heart said, if he's going to follow you, don't go to your job. Let him follow you to the police station. And I did that. He stopped following me whenever he put two and two together, because he knew where I was working. But why he would follow me after he knew where I was working, it wasn't even curiosity of where I was working. He knew where I was working. Why was he following me? He's got the 380 gun. I'm thinking he's just trying to line up to shoot me, is what I was thinking. And so I hightailed it to the police station, and he stopped following me, and I filed a police report.
In late 2024, there was some concern about sexual misconduct with Pearson, correct?
Yes.
And you took Pearson to a counselor or psychologist?
Yes.
Which one?
I guess she's a counselor. I can't remember. Like, she deals with children every day and speaks with them about issues, and she seems pretty on it with some stuff.
Do you remember who that was?
I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
So did Pearson talk to her about situations?
He did.
And what did she do?
She filed a report to DCS because she felt like it must have happened because the way Pearson just flat out said it.
So did DCS contact you?
They did.
Okay, tell the court about that.
Well, DCS actually came to our house and talked to me and my mother, and then one of the DCS workers, well, it was actually one DCS worker and one police officer, and he was from Putnam County. He was a little abrasive, and we don't know how to handle a situation like this. Like, who prepares for their child being molested, honestly? And so we just tell them what we knew. And so the DCS worker went and asked Pearson, but she didn't ask him a direct question. She just asked him kind of an indirect question and just left it as that is what she told me. And Pearson at that age, he was young. He was a great talker. He could talk at a very young age. He's very bright. And if he was asked a direct question, he'd tell you, because he told.
What
few
was the
people.
outcome of that with DCS? What did they wind up determining?
They just blew it off. They didn't even send me a report after I requested for a report over it, because naturally I would want to see the report, and they never sent it to me.
So there was an issue during your marriage that you went to Walmart and came home, and you had not bought some of the things, or one of the things that, I think it was a tackle box was one of the things
Yeah, it
maybe
was
that
he just wanted a tackle box.
Mr. Graman was requesting.
Yes.
And there was a pretty serious altercation with Mr. Graman.
Yeah, it was.
He got very upset about that.
Yeah, 'cause
Threatened
I went
you?
to the store to get groceries, and with Pearson, and he called me right at the end of the grocery shopping. Can you go get this? Yes. And I went down there and I looked and looked, and they didn't have it.
And then you got home without it,
I got home without it.
and there was heck to pay, correct?
Yes.
And you recorded that, right?
Yes, I did.
I want to play this for you in a minute and ask you some questions about it.
Okay.
Hey, Judge, there are many recordings. At this point, I probably got 4 that I'd like to introduce. So that's all I'm
Your case, put it on what you need to.
How much you spend? Did you get my boxes?
No,
Why?
because I was all the way at the other end of the street.
You didn't walk back to get my shit. Are you fucking kidding me?
Right, I was all the way at the other end of the store.
I don't give a fuck. You're not doing the grocery shopping at all. What time did you leave the house to go grocery shopping? I told you to or no?
Yeah.
You left here too.
I had to get him ready.
What time? So you didn't leave here. When time did you leave here?
I don't know, about 15 minutes after,
So why aren't you home till now?
because grocery shopping takes a minute, especially when you have a baby.
At all. Don't ask to go. Did you get milk?
Yeah,
You're carrying it all.
yeah, I know.
I got a fucking disaster over here. I need to throw boxes and put shit away. No, I don't have it.
You can go get them. You're not going to be mean to me and bully me while I'm in the store because they didn't carry that.
They do carry that. You fucked up.
How did I?
They had the
fuck up?
ones I fucking told you to go get at the end, and you didn't fucking go get them.
Well, because I had already left, and
I
I
don't
said
give a fuck.
that
I
I
told
was
you to do
willing
it.
to get them, and you were throwing this big old hissy fit about it, and saying, "No,
If
I
tell you
needed
to do
those."
something, do it. I said go get them. Why didn't you go fucking get them? You think you're above me? You think you're fucking better than me? I said to fucking go
I
get them.
think I'm equal.
Fuck you. That's how I fucking feel. Fuck you. Don't ask me for shit. Hurry up and get the fucking food. I'm pissed at you. Get the fuck away from me. Hurry the fuck up. Put some fucking pep in your step. I want you to fuck away from me. Stupid fucking bitch. Stupid. Can't believe you'd rather deal with this than have walked across fucking Walmart. You're so fucking stupid. This is better than walking across Walmart? Huh?
Brian, you shouldn't be acting like this.
I told you to go get the fucking
Over
box.
fishing lure
I told-
boxes?
I told
You're
you to
acting
go
like I
get them.
forgot medication
I
for you.
told you to go get the boxes, did I not? Did I
You
not?
told me to get other boxes that they did not
And
have.
then I
And
texted you
then
and
I
I
was
said, what?
already at the other
I
end of
don't
the
give
store.
a fuck. So this is better than walking across the store.
Right?
This is better than
This
walking across the
Should
store.
not be happening.
Cause you should have walked your ass across the store and done what you were told. Stupid fucking bitch. Don't you ask me for a goddamn thing. You understand me? Don't ask me to fucking take the car, do this, do that. Fuck you.
I don't ask you to do anything.
Now that I gotta take time out of my motherfucking day tomorrow to go to a Walmart and deal with that, when you were already at a Walmart, don't ask for shit, don't ask. You can sit fucking here all weekend. Fuck you. You gonna waste my fucking
That's what
time?
I was planning on doing anyway.
Alright. Oh, good. Hope you enjoy sitting here.
There I will.
You wanna go out or not? You can go. Come on. You want in or out? Fuck you, staying.
Oh.
Better hurry up, put the shit away and get him away. Because he's not gonna be up all fucking night. So you better wake him the fuck up. You better get the fuck out. I told you to do this fucking weeks ago.
Right, you're probably just got through.
So throw it the fuck away, I don't care. Take care of what you're supposed to fucking take care of. Do what you're fucking asked from now on. I'm fucking done. If I tell you to fucking jump, you ask how fucking high. You expect me to do what the fuck I need to do to shake her to keep fucking having a living?
Actually, I don't.
What the fuck does that mean, you dumb bitch? What the fuck does that mean? Huh?
I don't expect, because a lot of times, you just do what you want.
Do you want a divorce? Yeah? You want a divorce?
I'm trying so hard, I don't.
Then you wouldn't disrespect me fucking constantly.
You disrespect
I was at
me.
work all motherfucking day dealing with
Come
fucking
on.
buffoons, and I told you to take care of something for me, and you fucking blatantly disregard what I
I
say to
should
do.
be asking you, do you wanna do?
I'm getting
Look how
damn
used
fuck.
to-
I can't fucking stand you. You want interact? I'm gonna slap you upside your motherfucking head. Smart move. Dumbass.
So, all right, and that's the tape. So when he says, this is better, is this better, this is better, is this better than walking across the store, something to that effect? I mean, is he talking about the wrath he's giving you? You think that's better than actually if you'd have just walked across the store and do what he told you to do? Is that what he's trying to tell you?
Yeah. And I did walk across the store. I looked for it. I spent like 20 minutes looking for this thing because I knew what was going to happen when I got home.
Says put some pep in your step. He called you stupid, correct?
Yeah.
When I say jump, you say how high? He told you that, correct?
Yeah. All this while Pearson is asleep in the car, making me carry in all the groceries by myself.
Did
And
he carry in any of the groceries?
No. He just followed me, called me a dumb B word and, everything else. Just was following me.
At this point, had he been drinking? Was he intoxicated then?
Nope.
So he did this sober.
Yeah. He does this sober.
Well, first of all, do you think that's appropriate to be done even around Pearson?
No, it shouldn't be done around any living being, period.
Oh, we've got this here. I'm going to play another recording in a minute. I'm going to ask you if you recognize this recording. This is the pawn shop drive home. Can you tell the court a little bit about what this is, or maybe lay a little foundation for this recording?
God, there's just so much. It's hard to remember.
All right, I'm going to play this and ask you if you recognize it.
Yeah.
The past you and then past me. I let him pass me because I fucking brake checked the fuck out of him. He didn't want to fight. Somebody did that to me on the road, I'd want to fight. You would be in my mirror, I was fucking trying everything I could to get that fucker to fight.
All right, do you recognize that recording?
Yeah, I remember it now.
Tell the court about that.
Yeah, so he wanted to go to the pawn shop and,
Pawn shop here in Charlotte or where?
yeah,
Okay.
right down the road.
All right, go ahead.
And he went and I stayed home, but then it started raining. It was actually hailing and he rode the motorcycle out there and he asked me to go out there and pick him up. Well, by the time I got
Go out where?
to the pawn shop,
And
yeah,
pick him up.
and pick
Okay.
him up
Okay.
because he was on his motorcycle.
All right, go ahead.
So that's what I did. I went out there and offered, to ride him to the house. But the hail had stopped by then. The roads were just really wet. And he said, how about you just drive behind me that way, because I'm going to drive kind of slow, because he didn't want to hydroplane, which I get it. So I said, okay, I'll just drive behind you, make sure nobody tries to, pass him quick or whatever, just kind of give him a little more protection. I said, I can do that. So I'm behind him, following him, and somebody probably just couldn't see around me, I guess, and passed me, and also passed Brian, and he didn't like that, and he got really mad. And for someone who was trying to play it safe and go home, he wasn't acting too safe. He went and chased this guy. I think he was in a red truck, and he went beside of him and right up to his windows and started cussing him out and telling, you don't pass the motorcyclist and all this in the rain, and telling him to pull over and that he wanted to beat him up. And that's crazy.
Play another recording, ask you if you recognize this one. So maybe a little hard to hear, so I don't. So this was entitled "Willing to Do Anything to Win a Fight." Can you tell the court about what that recording is?
Yeah, he was just going on a ramble about saying he's the kind of person to bring a gun to a knife fight, and that he's willing to do anything to win a fight, whether that be a physical altercation or something like we're doing today.
So, well, entitled right, I'm sorry. Judge, she's identified these. I would ask that, I guess we're talking about Exhibit 4, the Dollar General tape. Exhibit 5, the Walmart tape.
You're gonna file just a thumb drive of that or whatever?
I've got it here to
So
give to
let's
you
just
today.
make in one exhibit for all of those recordings.
Look at Exhibit 4 collective, the Dollar General, the pawn
Correct.
shop, the Walmart, and then this willing to do anything to want to fight. Thing on that thumb drive. Thank you. So, heard some of these tapes. Is that like unusual, or is that common for him to be speaking to you this way and conducting himself in this type of, this explosive anger with other people?
That is common. He's a very hostile, mean-spirited individual.
Let's jump forward to today. And or more current, and let's talk about the FaceTimes. You've had an opportunity, or you court ordered, and he's been doing some FaceTimes.
Yes.
Has he been pretty faithful, religious about doing the FaceTime calls?
He was, and sometimes he doesn't answer, and most time he does, but when he does, it's always a very odd setting of when he's answering these calls.
That's what I'm after. Tell the court about some of these things, some of the things you've experienced on FaceTime, maybe the top two that caused you problems. Let's do it that way.
Okay.
The worst and the next to the worst. How about that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, just a couple weeks ago, a week or two, he answered a FaceTime call because they're scheduled calls. We do them every Sunday and every Thursday. And he knows he's expecting a call around 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night, or 8:30, 7:30, 8:30, kind of within that time frame. And when he picked up the phone, he was up in a press box at this concert where everybody's drinking and partying, and he's obviously very drunk. And he's telling Pearson, "Hold on, I need to get out of the press box, away from partying." And he say, "Guess where Daddy's at? Daddy's at a concert." And he's 3. He's like, whatever, what's a concert? And he's like, "You want Daddy to show you the stage?" And he's just fumbling around. And there's alcohol and other people all around. That was
You
probably,
can see that on the FaceTime screen.
yeah, lots of people, just partying. Press box concert. So.
What's the next time that there were issues with FaceTime?
Well, he's very rarely is he ever alone during a FaceTime, and I don't like that, because that's our son. But he went out bowling with some friends, and he answered it while he was out bowling. He was drunk, and he told someone to hold the phone for him while he was bowling. He said, here's your uncle. And I'm like, well, the only uncle he's got, is my brother. And then he was raised with his cousins. And I'm like, they ain't come down from New York, so I don't know who he's talking about, calling some person his uncle. He was just drinking and slurring his words real bad, in front of a toddler. Like, that's pretty inappropriate, in my opinion.
Did you ever asking Pearson any questions that you felt like were inappropriate?
Yeah, he's always asking. There's nothing wrong with asking what did you do today, but it starts getting weird whenever he asks what did Mommy do today? Did you hang out with Mommy? Did Mommy have any friends over today? Who's Mommy's friends? Really trying to for a while there, he was really trying to dig into my business. He really wanted to know what I was doing, and to the point where he would actually say, Tony, wanting to talk to me. And it was just, that's crossing the line. He's not really supposed to be speaking to me.
Did he ever talk about to Pearson about him being able to take him home
Oh,
from
yeah.
his house? Tell the court about that.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. He just kept saying, "Oh, are you ready to come home with Daddy? Daddy's got you a room now." It first started off, he bought a new vehicle, which kudos to him. That's great. But he also bought Pearson a Buzz Lightyear car seat, and I think that's kind of like a lure, because he's not at this point in time, he's not been allowed to have Pearson in the car. And he's like, oh, Daddy's got you a new car seat. It's your Buzz Lightyear car seat. Are you ready to ride in the car with Daddy? When not supposed to. And then, then that just milks it into, Daddy's got you a room. Are you ready to come to Daddy's house? And, that's confusing to Pearson.
Has he been kind of cutting back on his FaceTime time in the calls lately?
Oh, yeah.
Tell the
Yeah.
court about how they've gotten.
They're very brief. Either Pearson does not want to talk to him. Actually, Pearson has frequent meltdowns whenever I say, "Hey, your daddy wants to talk to you tonight." I try to keep this as peaceful as possible, and I say, it's time to FaceTime your daddy, and he will cry and cry. No, I don't want to talk to Daddy. He doesn't want to. A lot of times I have to go, pretty much what I do now is I go into the other room, because when you press the FaceTime call button, you cannot silence the sound that it makes. So, and Pearson knows that sound, so I have to go and hold my phone a certain way where he does not hear that. And then when I hear him say, "Hey buddy," bring the phone to him as quick as I can. So it's he's not having a meltdown where he can actually say hello to his dad. Or it's the other way around. Brian is busy doing whatever out at a bar or out on the boat, doing kind of whatever. And he's like, "You ready to tell Daddy night night?" within a minute or two of being in there. And a lot of times Pearson's like, "Yeah," but it kind of makes me smile a little bit when Pearson says no, because he's wanting to talk to his son, right?
When's the last time you saw Pearson?
When's the last time he saw, oh, sorry.
When's the last time that Mr. Graman saw Pearson? I'm sure.
Right after we had our last court session, he got either one or two more supervised visits, and that was it. So that's been 2 months, maybe 3. I want to say
And
2.
at that last hearing, the judge kind of rearranged the visitation going to the church, correct?
Yes.
And part of it was there was going to be another supervisor that
Another
was going to be paid for.
Yeah, another supervisor, no longer at the church, just anywhere that we could both agree on. And I thought, change of scenery would be good for Pearson. And not having my mom do it, hey, that's great.
And your mother was happy to, she did it for a long time, did she
She
not?
did, and she was still willing to do it, but
She did it for almost a year and a half?
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
well, if we were still doing it as of today, it would be 2 years.
And you were requesting in the visitation anywhere other than his home, correct?
Yes.
And he was very adamant about
He
going
only-
to his home.
Yes, he only wanted it at his house when there's a million other places to take him, with parks.
And he actually said that he would not go anywhere other than his own home, and that's just how it is.
Yes. In fact, he went as far as to overstep, and he screenshotted an email that he sent to you saying that he got in touch with the new supervisor and said that he scheduled a supervised visit at his house. And I thought that was really abrasive and weird, because I heard nothing from you. I heard nothing from his guardian ad litem, and nothing from the new supervisor. I've never even talked to her, so I wasn't going to take his word for it, and just a screenshot. So.
A little paragraph down at the bottom. I want to ask you if you recognize this as a paragraph that Mr. Graman had written and coming from Mr. Graman.
Okay, yeah, let me read it real quick. This is from Brian, right? Yes, I recognize it.
And this is in regards to him demanding to be having visitation at his home, correct?
Yes.
Can you read that for the court? I'm sorry, Judge.
Show that to Mr.
I've got him a copy. I totally forgot that. Can you read that paragraph?
Let the record show the only proposed location and an accepted location by the father is his personal residence. It is the only location available with access for the child to play with his toys as well as father being able to cook for the minor child. The child has been withheld in access for 2 months at the present. Unreasonable restriction, poor communication, and disregard for the court's desire has led to this. Once again, the father offers his home as the only viable and reasonable location for visitation.
And it appears that was sent April 12, 2025 in the morning.
Yes.
Correct?
9:09 a.m.
I would ask that to be Exhibit 5. And you were against, again, him going to his own home.
Yes.
I want to show you the psychological assessment for Mr. Graman that's already been entered into court, into evidence. And there is a recommendation from Dr. Berryman, number 2. Can you read that for the court?
Yes. Increasing some supervised visit time at this time would be appropriate. Perhaps the visits do not need to strenuously supervised and can be in a public place other than the church. When a report from the therapist can be produced, then consider unsupervised visitation.
All right, so in reading that, relying on that being a public place for the supervised visit, correct?
Yes.
And his home is not a public place, correct?
No, it's a personal
And
residence.
today, have you looked at possibly some places around your area and maybe Mr. Graman's area? I mean, you live where?
I live in Alexandria. No.
Alexandria. And Mr. Graman lives, to your best of your knowledge, where?
Lebanon, I don't know if it's considered Lebanon or Hermitage. It's right on the lake.
And he's got a camper there, correct?
Yes.
You've seen pictures of that. He's introduced pictures of the camper, correct?
Not of his new one, no.
Sorry?
Not of his new one. I know
He
he
has a
got
new
it.
camper.
Yeah.
Okay. And from where y'all live, have you had an opportunity to look for maybe some places to do the visitation?
Oh yeah, there's great places around us to do it that way.
What's the top 2, maybe 3 good places to do visitation in a public arena like this that you found?
I think the best place would be Don Fox Park in Lebanon. It's a big park. It has like 3 playgrounds and a big track. It's like a quarter-mile long track where he could ride his bike. They parked the Kona ice truck there, and there is even a pool, a free pool to go and swim at. It's a shallow pool. Yeah, they upkeep it very well there and lots of space.
Okay. Let's say it's raining, the weather's bad, that type of thing. Do you have an indoor arena that you might be able to go to?
Yeah, I mean, Pearson loves the McDonald's. You can never go wrong with taking him to the McDonald's play place. That is his world. He
So
does
there's a
like
McDonald's play,
I didn't understand that. What was that place?
the McDonald's Playhouse. He likes going there. I'm sure there are lots of other different indoor facilities. That's just the first one that came off the top of my head because he does like going there.
would these be 2 places that you would ask the court maybe to consider in a supervised arena that Pearson could go to with the supervisor?
With the supervisor.
And quite, there was a supervisor that was prepared to do the visitation, correct?
Yes.
And was it Mr. Graman wasn't going to that because he couldn't go to his own home?
Yes, that's correct.
If he would have went to, or would have discussed the park or the playground, I mean, he could have had visitation, correct?
Yes.
And again, when was the last time you saw Pearson?
It's been a little over 2 months, right before our last hearing, or right after our last hearing.
All right. When was the last time he gave you a child support?
March 20th.
March the 20th. What was he supposed to be paying you?
It's $293 every other week.
Have you calculated how much he owes you in back child support at this point?
No, I haven't added it all up, but it would be fairly easy to calculate that if I had a calendar in front of me, of course.
So you're saying March was the last time. What week in March was the last? Strike that. Did he make a payment in March?
March 20th
March
was the
20th.
last payment.
Was he current on March 20th?
He was actually late, but he made up for that late thing. He sent like a proper amount. That makes sense. It was like a double payment
Okay.
of a
So
late.
again, he
So,
was current on March the
current.
20th. He might not have paid it timely, but he was current.
Yes,
That we're talking about? All right. So what he would owe you would be the last payment was March 20th, 2025 to present. He's not paid you any child support.
nothing.
Did he ever talk to you about why he hasn't paid you any child support during that time?
No.
That's about the time that the visitation went south too, correct?
Yes. Yes, I do.
What are those documents?
They're for marriage property, like our vehicles, our assets, pretty much all of
So
our shared debt.
standard, it's your assets and liability statement, is it not,
Yes,
from the marriage?
yes,
So there is no real property to divide in your marriage, correct?
correct.
So with the personal property, we're talking about the vehicles and some guns, correct?
Yes.
So how many vehicles are we talking about that you have listed?
I think it's 4. I'm gonna double check. Pretty sure it's 4. 4 vehicles and a
Yes.
camper.
Mr. Graman been given a copy of that.
I showed it to him earlier and he's had a
Do you
chance to
have a
look.
copy that I can follow along with you?
Judge, I do not. That's the only one that I've gotten. I can pass it along to you. I think she can pretty
Obviously,
well do
just-
it.
What I think it would be better is for Mr. Graman to have a copy and for me to have a copy to go follow along with you. When you're talking about personal property and a list of this and asking what's going to be awarded to each one, if I don't have it in front of me, it's going to be very difficult for me to follow along. So
This is 4 or
let's
5
just take a
cars,
minute to let her.
4 cars.
4 cars, 2 guns, and about 4 credit cards is all we're talking about in the marriage. So
4 cars
Fairly
and 2
simple.
guns.
fairly simple that she's asking for an equitable division on. Yes, sir. Everybody else, I think.
Too late, I've already asked for a copy. Yes. Well, let's just go ahead and take about a 10-minute recess. We'll stand in recess for about 10 minutes.
All rise. All rise. Court's back in session. You may be seated.
All right, we have copies now for the asset and liabilities, so let's have you, I would remind you that you are still under oath, Ms. Graman.
So there's no real property, we've got no special assets. Mr. Graman. Strike that. So on your debt, you've listed your marital debt. Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay.
There are 4 credit cards here.
Yes.
Is that credit cards and the amounts, are they all something that was derived during your marriage?
Yes.
And your testimony would be this is a marital debt that should be divided between you and Mr. Graman, correct?
Yes.
And you've had a chance to, when you first filled this out up at the top, you had a chance to fill it out and, you looked at the amount of debt. And then we're talking about in today's dollars, what that debt is today is down at the bottom, correct?
Yes.
You kind of revised that to give more accurate figures for the debt, correct?
Yes.
So the Discover card, the current amount of the debt is about $5,215, correct?
Yes.
Wells Fargo, I'm gonna go through this real quickly, is 197 or 47?
97.
197.37, Capital One's 476.86, correct?
Yes.
And then the Chase is closed, there's no amount on it.
Yes. I paid that off.
All right. So during the course of the separation, you're saying you made payments and paid that debt off.
Yes, I did.
What's an estimate of how much you paid to pay that debt off for both of them?
It's hard to say. Over $500 altogether, for sure, because I was just doing minimum payments, and I finally was like, well, I got to get one out of the way. So I just went on, and when I was able
Excuse me
to.
for interrupting. Whose name are these debts listed in? That would be another question. In other words, there's a Discover card. Is it in both of your names, only in his name,
Mine.
in your name?
Yes, they're all
All of these
mine.
debts listed in your name only?
Yes.
Okay. But then it shows who benefited from the debt, and you're proposing that he pay those debts? Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, the question as to who benefited from the debt,
Well,
probably be
they're
both.
incurred during the marriage, so they're marital debts. I'm just trying to determine if they were in his name, her name, or both their names, or whatever, so. All right, I apologize for the interruption, go ahead.
and you testified they were in your name. Why did you get the Discover card?
Because Brian wanted to go up to New York to get, I think that the Discover card was to get, because he got two cards. He went to New York twice and got both cards in my name. I want to say the Wells Fargo card was the first time he went up to New York. And the second time we took a trip was the Discover card was pulled out
Okay.
in my name.
And he requested that you make an application to get these cards.
Oh, yeah, it was a demand.
And it was because he couldn't get credit, correct?
Correct, yeah, because he had cards in his name also and needed more money. And I was that resource.
And the Capital One, how did that card come about? Was that by request from Mr. Graman, or how did you get that?
By his request.
Why did you get that Capital One card?
I can't remember how I got the Capital One
And
card.
why? Why were you getting, do you remember why you got the Capital One?
No,
You just remember that he asked you to get it?
yeah, I pretty much, if he said jump, I said how high. That's how I had to live, so,
Was the Chase card the same situation?
yes,
If your testimony over one of these cards, you got in your name, but it was because Mr. Graman, use your words, demanded that you get it.
yes, I never even had physical possession of the cards. They remained in his wallet. It was very awkward calling these cards after we split up to just, cancel them, make sure they can't be spent. And they asked, what's your card number? I don't know. Why don't you know? Well, I don't have possession of the card. Why not? Well, they're in his wallet, but they're in your name. I know. Yeah.
So you said around $500 on a Chase card, right?
Yes.
So did you make very many payments on, let's say, the Discover card over time?
Oh, yeah, I'm still making payments on the Discover. I'm making payments on all of these currently every month right now.
Are you making the minimum payment more or less?
Yes, minimum.
So let's go through this real quick. What in the Discover card, what's the average minimum payment?
Minimum payment for Discover is $140 a month.
And you've been making that since the day you separated from Mr. Graman?
Yes.
Were you making it before then?
I probably was unknowingly.
I can get your complaint. What day did you separate from Mr. Graman?
That was May 25th,
And the year? 23?
23. Yes, because it's been 2 years.
So if I'm hearing you right, you paid $140 a month on the Discover card from May 25th, 2023 to present,
Yes,
and it's been in Mr. Graman's pocket.
yes.
Did he ever use that card again after you separated?
No, because I stopped them immediately.
All right. So on the Wells Fargo card, same question. What's the standard minimum payment?
Wells Fargo, that one is $65 a month.
And you've been making that payment?
Yes,
And you've been doing that since May of 2023?
yes.
Capital One, what's the average monthly payment on it?
About $25 a month.
All right, same question?
Capital, excuse me again, I'm sorry.
No.
Capital One, the Chase card, your list shows Chase. I have a Discovery, Wells Fargo, and Chase. I'm sorry, I may have not looked at the bottom. All right, thank you.
The bottom part's the updated figure.
Yeah, the bottom part's updated, because I discovered the Capital One card after we separated. I didn't really know about that one.
And based on our conversation yesterday, you looked all this up, correct?
Yes, it
So
is.
it's fairly current.
Yeah, I get paper statements from all of them.
Okay, so we need to go by this bottom list,
Yes, by the bottom list. That's
the updated list. So
current.
Capital One, $25. Is it your same testimony? You've been making that payment since May of 2023?
Yes,
And again, you paid about $500 on the Chase card and paid it off, correct?
yes, it did.
All right. And you're asking the court to consider these monthly payments that you've made on your marital debt for an equitable distribution of the payment, correct?
Yes.
As well as the balance. Now, vehicles, if you can turn the page to vehicles.
Okay.
You've got, it looks like maybe 4 vehicles and a camper, is that accurate?
Yes.
All of them are paid for, there's no money owed, correct?
None owed.
Okay. And you have this Ford Focus, correct?
Yes, in my position. Yes.
Okay. And what would you say the value of your Ford Focus is?
Probably, I could safely say 4,500.
Same question for the Chevy Avalanche.
Chevy Avalanche, closer to $8,600.
So I'm sorry, the Ford Focus you thought was worth $4,600,
45.
45.
4,500? And then you think the Chevy Avalanche is what?
8,600.
And Mr. Graman has the Avalanche.
Yes.
The 2000 Yamaha, that's a motorcycle. How much would you estimate the value of that to be?
Probably like $300.
Mr. Graman have that?
Yes.
Let's jump down to the 1990 Chevrolet Corvette. What's your estimate of value on it?
It's hard to tell. I could say 2,000 maybe, since it's an
How
older
much money
sports
would you
car.
say Mr. Graman has sunk into that car over time?
Oh, at least $20,000. While we were together, I knew 15,000 went into that thing that doesn't run.
So out of $15,000, you're saying the 90 Chevrolet Corvette right now does not run?
Not to my knowledge, no. I know that he constantly works on it. He's obsessed with this car.
What's the value of the camper?
Camper it's a pop-up camper, probably about $300, $400.
These were all purchased during the marriage, derived during the marriage, correct?
Yes,
And you're asking the court to make an equitable distribution of that, correct?
yes,
Is that everything as far as your marital property and your debts?
yes.
I would move that she's, I think, corroborated this, Judge. Maybe we're at Exhibit 6. I would ask this be Exhibit 6.
Marking as Exhibit 6.
Quick. Did you take the parenting apart class?
I did.
And is this your certificate of completion?
Yes.
Judge, I would move this as Exhibit 7.
Exhibit 7.
Where do you work?
I am self-employed. I am a cleaner, and I also work on the side with a cleaning business as well. It's part-time.
So the name of the cleaning business that you work for part-time, what is that name?
Simply Spruced.
Simply Spruced.
Yes.
And you're doing this line of work, that's what your mother does,
Yes.
correct? Does she work for Simply Spruced as
No,
well?
she's her own thing, and I'm also my own business as well. I've got liability insurance and all that too.
All right. Do you have a name for your business?
Yes.
What is it?
Tiny Tony's Cleaning Services.
Tiny Tony's. So let's look at Simply Spruced. What's your average monthly income for them?
About $600.
You get a paycheck from them?
I do.
Is that your gross, $600?
From them, yes.
Okay. And then Tiny Tony's Cleaning Services, how long have you been doing that?
I just became official a few weeks ago, but I've been doing that since I left Brian on and off. But I officially really started for myself and got serious with it for, I guess, 4 months now.
Okay. And this being your own business, you understand you have a gross amount, your business expenses, and you have a net amount,
Yes.
correct? And after you take out your business expenses, your average monthly with your business, what's it at? I guess what are you making? What do you expect to make?
About $2,400.
$2,400 a month.
Yes.
And you had a little running head start. I know you said you just got insurance and all those things.
Yeah, liability insurance. That wasn't cheap.
But you've been
but
doing this
necessary.
since the separation, correct?
Yes.
Who's carrying the insurance for Pearson?
Brian for health insurance.
All right.
Brian is.
And who's paying for daycare for Pearson while he's with you?
Well, that's what the child support was fully going to, but since he's not paying it, now I am.
And how much is that?
$190 a week.
Where does he go to daycare at?
In Lebanon.
What's the name? Do you know?
Little Lambs Daycare.
Okay. You're asking the court today for a divorce.
Yes.
You're asking for the judge to award you a divorce, correct?
Yes.
Did you have attorney's fees throughout this process?
Oh, yes.
And you still have attorney's fees for today and things of that nature? You don't have any idea how much that is, correct?
Correct.
Are you asking Mr. Graman, based on the marital fault and all the things that, we've heard, the fact that he's not put on any proof today on his own, you asking him to pay your attorney's fees?
Yes.
Are you asking him to pay the court cost?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Mr. Graman, you're representing yourself. As you've been through this before, you have the opportunity to cross-examine the witness. Do you want to ask questions? I would remind you that your questions must be in question form rather than statement form, so.
We hear you talk about 4 vehicles as well as 2 firearms owned throughout the course of the marriage. The 2 main vehicles in question being a Ford Focus retained by you and a Chevy Avalanche retained by me. Do you recall the initial purchase price of those vehicles?
Yes, I think so.
And what were those prices?
Your truck was, let me think here a second. 'Cause you got your truck first. So that was, I'm gonna say yours was like $6,800 whenever you got the truck, is what I remember. And then my car was about 5,000 from what I remember.
So it's your testimony here today, it was about $6,800 and $5,000.
Yes.
During the course of our marriage, out of those vehicles, which, did one of them sustain a major accident?
Of those vehicles?
Out of those two vehicles?
No.
The orange truck never suffered significant damage in the parking lot of a Target?
Oh, that man bent your fender. Yeah. That you beat up.
Just the fender? Or was it the entire front assembly of the vehicle?
I just remember the fender.
Both of these vehicles have had some major issues with them since their purchase. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say major. I thought they held up pretty good.
Have both vehicles received a secondary engine from the original engines placed in them when we purchased them?
Yours did. I think mine did. So they're good engines that are in them now, yes.
And how many miles would you say are on that Ford Focus?
Guess over 200,000.
Over 200,000?
I would, yeah, right at it.
Okay. Do you know how many miles are on the Avalanche?
No,
Do you remember how many were on it when it was purchased?
no.
Out of these two vehicles, why is it that the car, the Ford Focus, has depreciated, yet the truck in an accident has appreciated in value?
Well, you put a lift kit on your truck and you put a turbo engine in yours. So yours has been modified and spruced up and, it is nice. And I've done nothing to mine but put miles on it and spill a bunch of Pearson's chocolate milk all in it and whatnot.
Before these vehicles were purchased, we each had separate vehicles. Is that correct?
Can you say that again?
Before the purchase of these vehicles, we each had other vehicles?
I had one.
And what did I drive at that point in time prior to the truck purchase?
My Xterra.
Then what was the purpose of the white Lexus?
I don't know. I forgot about the Lexus because you didn't have it for very long and it didn't really run that good. And you sold it to a friend, or actually, I think you gave it to, excuse me, a friend of yours.
But that would have
white
been
car.
the vehicle I drove prior to the acquisition of my truck.
You barely drove it. You mainly drove the Xterra. You drop me off at work in it, and then you go to work.
In your testimony earlier, you testified of some credit cards, 4 specifically. All 4 of those were in your name?
Yes.
Okay. What credit cards were in my name?
You had your own credit cards. I know you had an Amazon Visa card, and you had your own Capital One card. I think you had 4 cards of your own, but I can't remember all of them. But I knew you got your cards first and then went on to me.
We had all of these credit cards at the point in time when we moved to Charlotte. Is that correct?
2 of them were obtained while we were in Charlotte.
And those two would be?
Hold on. I remember being on the phone with one of them, Chase, and I want to say Discover, because we got a card in my name because we went to New York while we were sick in January. And I want to say that was the Discover card because it was a high amount. It's like $7,000.
Did we both carry similar figures in credit allocation as far as what we could borrow from these credit card companies?
I don't know.
When we moved to Charlotte, there would have been 2 credit cards in your name at that time, correct?
Yes.
Before we moved, those credit cards were paid off in full, correct? To Charlotte?
No, because I'm still paying on them.
Before we moved to Charlotte, the 2 credit cards you had prior, they were brought up to paid in full balances, right?
What?
Well, overall, he's entitled to cross-examine her about the incurrence of the debt, which is what I understand he's doing. He was saying they were paid off prior to moving to Charlotte, so it becomes a question as to when it was incurred. Legally, if it's incurred during the course of the marriage, it's a marital debt. So, but I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead and re-ask your question, if you will, please.
The 2 credit cards you knew to be in possession of prior to moving to Charlotte, were they paid off in full before moving out of your parents' home?
No, because they're still not paid off.
That in itself does not entail that they couldn't have been paid off when we left
Now
out of your parents.
you're making a statement now rather than a question, so you need to ask it in question. You can ask questions, but you cannot, you can testify when the time is right, but you cannot make a statement.
The balances on these 4 credit cards, was it all accrued in what kind of a time period did the balances on these cards reach where they're at now?
I honestly don't know because you kept all the cards, all the financial information very secretive, and you told me I was too stupid to understand what was going on with all of the financial stuff. So I really don't know. All I know is that they're not paid off.
You've obtained copies of these card transcripts to present in your discoveries, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you have seen the statements on these cards, correct?
I'm seeing what is owed each month. Yeah.
The
And what the
statement,
starting debt is, yeah.
the statements that you initially received didn't have the dates when these charges were accrued?
Yeah.
Yes, as they did include that information.
I receive statements each month so that I can pay them off. And that is what I have in my possession. It says when they started and how much debt had been accumulated, to the max capacity. And so I get those letters in the mail, and that's how I know what is owed. Does that make sense?
And it's your testimony that I made all the purchases on these credit cards,
Yeah.
every last one of them?
Yeah.
And in this time living in Charlotte, what was the financial circumstance of the home? How was the money coming in for the bills at that time prior to the separation?
You were mainly working. I worked some with my mom cleaning and taking Pearson with me, like on Sundays. So I made a little bit of money until I just couldn't do it anymore. And then you were bringing in all the money for a few months. Yeah.
So for a few months, what we relied on was my sole income as well as the leverage of certain credit cards.
Yeah.
Now, was the money spent on these credit cards spent with the intention of benefiting the household
No, not necessarily.
at the time of the separation?
No. You spent them on yourself. We made an unnecessary trip to New York while we were sick and spent thousands of dollars up there and spent money, after the fact. I actually have documentation of that Discover card, how fast you blew through $7,000. If we were financially struggling, we should have never have went to New York. And you were dead set on going to New York when you could have, if you wanted us to go there while not being sick. Your family is very wealthy. They would have been happy to have paid for a plane ticket for us. But who am I?
Speculation.
But there's also transactions from gas stations spending hundreds of dollars at a time, and it's not just gas. You were getting vapes and alcohol. You blew money like it was going out of style, and I was begging you for grocery money. And I was thankful for the grocery money, but it ain't no way to live.
Is it your belief at this time that the debt has been, to this point, unfairly distributed?
Yeah.
And would that retain your belief if the credit cards issued to my name carried more significant balances and debts than your cards?
Can you say that again?
If I was to have a more significant amount of debt to my credit cards, would you still feel that the debts have been unfairly at this point distributed?
Sustained, I think that's a question that's more for argument to the court than it would be for her.
So is it your testimony that you are unsure of the financial standings of myself during this period of time?
Word that a different way. I'm sorry. I don't really understand what you're trying to ask.
It's your testimony today. You have an understanding of the debts that are incurred under your name.
Yes.
Have you been made aware through discovery of the debts incurred under my name?
No, I don't know what all is in your name. And with all the debt that you racked up in your name, maybe that should have made you stop and think, maybe I should stop spending money on whatever you were spending it on, instead of let's use her credit and just keep blowing money. But I let these things happen because I let you be leader of the household, and you smacked me right in the face with all of that. That's what I get for trusting you.
This is not a place for you two to rehash what fault was or why it happened. It's stick to the question about you're going to get through a divorce.
Yes, sir.
And the only question becomes how do we handle the parenting plan and how do we handle the division of property and debts? Let's stick to those issues rather than rehash what's happened.
Yes, sir.
In your list of vehicles, there is a camper on that list. Can you tell us a little bit about the camper?
Yeah, you bought it from our neighbor. It was a pop-up camper.
And it was purchased from our neighbor?
Yeah, our Cajun neighbor.
Excuse me?
She was Cajun. She's from New Orleans.
Cajun. And this was an item I'd purchased from her for what dollar amount?
I don't know. I don't know what you paid for that. You said it was a Mother's Day gift for me.
And that item you've put a valuation of $2,000 on?
Yeah, that's what a pop-up camper goes for.
What was the condition of this camper when I brought it home?
It's fairly nice. I was surprised, actually. Had 2 beds and a fridge.
Let me interrupt you for a second. I had down that the camper was $300 to $400 valued, and
Okay.
that the Chevrolet Corvette was the $2,000 value. Am I correct about that? Just wanted to make sure I was right.
If that's what's listed, it's been a long time since I've.
Well, that's what I understood you testified to. Mr. Holly was going through your list of property with you.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
So the Chevrolet Corvette, what is known of that car?
You have it. That's what I know.
How long have I owned that car?
We're in Cookville. So that was 2020. Got it in 2020. September of 2020.
I became the owner of that car in 2020. Is that your testimony?
No, it's still in my name. I'm technically the owner of it.
When that car got placed in your name, whose name was the prior title in?
I don't think it was anybody, like, it was just my name was only on the title.
Who did you purchase the car for? Who sold the car to you to register?
Well, we went to one of the Carolinas, I guess it was North Carolina, to get the Avalanche. I don't know his name.
We're discussing the Corvette.
Oh, I'm sorry. Corvette, that was from your uncle up in New York, Bill McDearman.
And that's who sold you the car?
Yes. You went up and got it, but it was in my name. It's no longer in my name because you and I went to the courthouse in Lebanon to change it over to yours. Because I didn't want it in my name anymore.
So it's your testimony here today that I have not owned that car since my high school graduation.
No, your uncle did. You may have been able to drive it. I know you drove it, and but Bill said it was always his. Actually, Bill was going to give it to Billy, his son, until you asked for it.
If registration for that vehicle were to be tracked down from Wilson County, it would not show me signing the car over into your ownership as being the prior registered owner in New York.
I don't know what you and Bill did, but what Bill told me was that it was always Bill McDearman's car until you drove up there and he sold it to you.
We've also heard you testify today of a firearm in my possession that I believe you were looking to obtain.
Yeah,
And what firearm is that?
the 380. Westington.
Smith & Wesson?
Yeah, that's it.
And that vehicle, excuse me, that firearm was purchased where?
At, it was in Cookville at, it's not Dick's,
Excuse me, what brand was the pistol?
Smith & Weston.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Graham, I'm sorry.
And along with your discoveries, you were able to obtain some sales paperwork on that firearm being purchased. Do you recall if that sales date happened before or after the day we wed?
It was before.
So this firearm was purchased before the wedding.
It was because I didn't even want to get a gun, but you talked me into it because I was hiking on my parents' land, and out in Watertown there had been cougar and bear sightings, right? And you told me I needed to get a gun to protect myself because I went hiking out there a lot. And I said, you know what, that might be a smart idea, just in case. I've had a few run-ins out in the woods by myself. It's never fun. But, so that's why I bought that. And that was while I was living with my parents before we got married.
Can you reiterate, that's when you made that purchase?
Yes.
Okay. When did you join my Regions bank account?
Oh, you had me join that, I think while we were living in Charlotte.
So after the point of our marriage.
Yeah, I actually tried to get off of it, but they won't let me because we're still legally married, and they said we would have to both be present to do that, which I thought that was kind of weird because I never used that account and don't want to be tied to that account, so I'm not even using it.
I believe the account in question there is closed.
Okay.
So after the marriage is when you joined my banking system to share account numbers with me and have a card if you needed access.
Oh, after marriage, yeah. While we were married, driving here to Dixon to get, you wanted me to have the Regions card.
Prior to our marriage, there would be no record of that firearm purchase at Academy Sports going through a Regions bank account in my name.
No, it went through my Wilson Bank and Trust card.
And you're prepared to provide evidence to support that?
If it's in the files with Mr. Reese, that document shows all of that. I remember it was my Wilson Bank and Trust card.
Okay. A couple weeks after that, did we return once again to Academy Sports?
Yeah, we went, I don't know if it was a couple weeks, but we did go after to get a 22 Smith & Weston.
And where is that 22 retained?
I have the 22.
You have the 22.
I do.
And was that purchased to get locked up in a cabinet, left in a cabinet, or?
You told me I had to have it on me.
I requested that you carry that firearm with your person.
Yeah. And I went through the gun safety course class and everything for that also, to get that carry permit thing.
So in the time you were carrying the 22 pistol, what, the 380 was left to lay in the gun safe?
No, it pretty much lived on your back belt, if that makes sense. It was on you pretty much all the time, unless you laid it on the table at home. It's supposed to be in the gun cabinet, but wasn't really there most of the time.
So it's your testimony from purchase of the 380 up until as long as you know that I've carried that firearm with me full time.
Yeah, because you had me get the 22 and you took possession of the 380, even though I liked the 380. But anyway.
Upon the initial separation, obviously, we were not getting along very well. That last day you were there, was I home with you?
Yeah.
Excuse me, let me rephrase that. The very last time you stayed in the home, I was there with you.
Yes, you were.
The last time we separated on a Sunday, is that correct to your record?
I think so. It was whenever you had your friend over, Jacob was over. That was the day I left you.
Later that week, while I was at work, you returned, correct?
Yes,
What was the purpose of your return trip to the house?
to get the stuff that belonged to my mom that she let us use. And to myself, like my musical instruments.
And for the child?
He was with me when I left you on the Sunday. I took him with me.
Items for the child.
Items.
You also removed the items for the child?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, unobstructed by myself, you had the opportunity presented to empty the home of the things that you wanted in the moment.
The day that I left you,
The day you returned while I was at work.
yeah, I went and got some stuff I'll use at work.
Can we quantitate stuff? Is that half or more of possessions in the home? Half or less?
Probably half. I left all the big stuff that you purchased, like that 4K TV that was given to you by your friend, by our neighbor. That was yours. That white couch, that's yours. I left the bed that I bought before we were even married. I said, yeah, that's his. I left half of the cookware stuff in the kitchen, even though you didn't cook at the time. I left you half of that. I left everything in the garage. I just took stuff, I took my clothes and I took my mom's furniture and I took Pearson's clothes and Pearson's stuff and stuff that I had bought before our marriage, like my crash pad for my when I was rock climbing and my rock climbing gear. Yeah, I left everything that was yours for you. I even left my my diamond engagement ring because you told me that if I left you, I had to give it back. It was a $2,000 ring.
Over the time of this separation, have we successfully made multiple transfers of items?
What?
After your initial leaving the home, did you return after your initial emptying of items from the home?
No, I never went back to the.
You never
The
received
house.
items that were boxed up in the garage?
I think my mom went back. It was either my mom or dad because you said, here's some stuff. I didn't go back because I wasn't going to do that.
But
But
ultimately,
had
you
some-
attained it.
yeah, it was literally clothes and some stuff for Pearson was in those boxes that I just wasn't going to deal with.
And
Whenever I was
then
leaving.
less than a year ago, did we once again make a transfer of you taking more and more possession of other items from the home?
You gave me some junk, like cups that weren't even mine. I didn't know where they came from. I guess from Philip or something like that. I wanted my kayak back, but I'm sure that's long gone. My mom bought me that a couple years before I met you because Maddie and I would go out kayaking. Yeah, it's gone.
I think I was thinking a little more specifically of maybe an end table,
An end table.
a schoolboy's table.
Yeah, that was my grandmother's.
But I made sure that made its way back to you within the last year.
Yeah, it's falling apart, but it's back. I mean, it's nothing wonderful, but yeah, thank you.
But I have made attempts to rectify the situation between us and get you the things that I believed that you wanted and were entitled to.
No, I think you were moving into the camper and you didn't want to pay for storage anymore, so you were just kind of getting rid of stuff. That's fine.
No further questions at this point.
Need to redirect?
Property sheet that's ordered in evidence. Your separate property list, you have a 22 compact hand pistol, and you say that's with you. Was
Yes.
it your testimony you bought that prior to the marriage,
Yes.
and it's in your name?
Yes.
And then there's that 380 hand pistol, and you say Mr. Graman has that.
Yes, he does.
Did you buy that prior to the marriage as well?
Yes.
And it's in your name?
Yes.
You're asking the court to return that.
Yes.
Or the value of it, you've got listed is that 98.99?
Yes.
Okay, so you're asking for the value of that or the pistol to be returned?
Either.
So was it your testimony, he asked you about engagement ring,
Yes.
and that was a ring he gave you for the marriage,
Yeah, it was an engagement ring.
and it was around $2,000.
Yeah, because I had he had the receipt at the house, and he made sure to show me how much he spent on that ring. It was a heart-shaped diamond, so they're not cheap.
Do you know if he still has that even?
I don't know.
If the court reasons that out to be like a consideration of marriage gift, would you ask for that back to cover some of these expenses?
Yeah, that would be great.
That's all I have.
I'm sorry, but what did you think the engagement ring was worth?
$2,000.
And you think he has that?
Yes, because I left it there on the pillow with a note. It was right there.
You left it on a pillow with a note to him that you were leaving?
Yeah,
All right, thank you. You can sit down.
thank you.
Mr. Holly, you may call your next witness. He was here on Zoom for most of the day. He is not in the Zoom link now. I sent him a message that I would bring him in as soon as he was called as a witness. But at this point, if you want to try to reach him by phone and get him to come back in, I'll certainly bring him in. Sure. We'll take a, Ms. Smith, I failed to give you the opportunity to question. Ms. Lowe and Mr. Holly, we had a conversation about your cases, and my understanding is we're going to continue this case and then see where we are, right? All right. So you have your witness lined up. Jeff Ford is in the waiting room. I'm admitting him. We need to put him up on the big screen, please.
You call Mr. Graman to talk about income, and then that will be it.
Okay. When I finish with Mr. Ford as a witness, I'll give you a chance. You say you need to go make a call for childcare. All right. Well, let's deal with Mr. Ford, and then you can go out there and do what you need to do. All right. Mr. Ford, if you will, please. You've been called as a witness, and I know you've testified in this matter before, but I'm going to ask you, if you will, number one, raise your right hand. Let me place you under oath. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right. Thank you. You can put your hand down now. Second thing I'm going to ask is, and believe it or not, I have to ask this of lawyers who come in on Zoom. You are not operating a motor vehicle currently on the highway, is that correct?
No,
You are
sir. I'm in a place-
stationary,
Right.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Believe it or not, I have to tell attorneys sometimes to pull over on the side of the road rather than drive
Trees.
while they're Zoom linking. All right. So you got that? All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Ford, you've been sworn in. Mr. Holly's calling you as a witness, so you may proceed, Mr. Holly.
Thank you, Judge. State your name for the record.
My name is Jeff Ford.
And how are you familiar with Brian and Tony Graman?
I've known Tony since she was a small child. She grew up with my children. I've known Brian maybe 6 years. I don't remember the exact date, or 7 years through the Timothy Hill Children's Program.
And at one point, I think you were their pastor even. Do you know them
Yeah.
all as well?
Yes, I didn't really serve Brian in that capacity. I was the minister for the Alexandria Church of Christ, and Tony was a part of that congregation for a couple of years, but not really Brian. And I'm not currently in that role.
What I'm going to ask about Mr. Ford, and you've testified previously in this case. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
And do you have a pretty good understanding of Mr. Brian Graman's current living situation?
Only what I have heard on phone conversations.
Okay. And those phone conversations were between who?
Between myself and Brian.
And Mr. Graman. So as far as his current living situation, can you tell the court what you know about his current living situation?
Sure. Brian was trying to get me and my wife Bobby to come over so that he could, I guess, have us to go out to eat with him or fix us a meal at his place. He wanted to introduce us to his girlfriend and her baby. Also wanted to show us his new camper that he got.
Did you ever go over there?
I did not. Had been very, very busy and unable to go over. He was trying to get me and Bobby to go together as well, which complicates it. She's a school teacher in Cannon County, and so it was difficult to ever make that meeting. But he called several days in a row, back to back. You know, tonight, are we going to come tonight? Are you going to meet? And we just couldn't make that connection.
So, but he did talk to you about his current living situation. You're where he has a girlfriend.
Yes,
Did he ever talk to you about his girlfriend living with him?
he did. He said that she, I guess, is a special ed assistant uh, over in Wilson County, and that she had a 6 month old, and that she was currently living there with him.
So she and the 6-month-old was living there with him.
That's the way he. That's the way he said it.
Okay. And did he mention that his girlfriend now was with child?
Yes, he
His
said
child.
that she was due in October.
Okay, and that was with his child, correct?
Yeah, correct.
All right, that's all I have.
Mr. Graman, do you have any questions to ask this witness? All right, thank you, Mr. Ford. You are released from further involvement, and I will allow you to leave this hearing. Mr. Holly, you may call your next witness. Mr. Graman, if you'll come around, you've been called as an adverse witness, so I will ask you to raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
You're Brian Graman, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Graman, you've been employed over time, correct?
Correct.
And when you filled out your interrogatories as part of the discovery of this case, do you recall filling out questions regarding your employment?
Yeah.
And you said in your discovery, if you recall, that's what I'm asking, you recall that you worked for Messer Construction.
That's correct.
You
At that
made,
time.
I'm sorry?
At that time, that's
At
correct.
that time. You made $28 per hour.
This sounds about right, yeah.
Okay. That you also had done some handyman jobs. Is that correct? You were filling it out, saying you had done some handyman jobs.
Yeah, sounds correct.
And that was, looks like you were on Angie's list possibly. You're talking about that. Is that right?
Yeah, it's likely.
Okay. And you made about $500 a month doing handyman jobs at that time.
At that time, that's correct. It would have only been a span of a few months tops that I worked with Angie's List.
Where are you working now?
I work for O'Neill Steel,
Where is that?
downtown Nashville.
What do you do for, can you spell Emil for me?
O'Neill.
O'Neill, I'm sorry. I got O'Neill.
O'Neal.
Got O'Neill. So, what do you do for O'Neill Construction?
I work in the maintenance department.
The maintenance department? How much do you work on an average week?
Somewhere between 36 and 42.
And what's your rate of pay there?
26.60 something.
Are there benefits involved there?
There are.
Okay, and do you have,
I'm sorry, what is
Pearson-
the rate of pay?
26.65, 68, something along them lines.
and, do you have benefits available?
I do.
Do you have Pearson on those benefits?
I do.
Okay, and they're on your health benefits?
He has vision, dental, health, and life.
Okay. Do you get a paycheck from these guys every other week or something like that? How often you pay?
I'm paid weekly.
All right, do you get a paycheck weekly?
I'm sure I could pull it up in the app itself, but I don't get like a physical piece of paper.
Okay. So as far as your pay, I think you testified you got paid weekly, $26.65 an hour, and you're somewhere between 36 and 42 hours a week.
Yeah. That'd be correct.
Are there any, other than the handyman stuff, is there any other side income that you may have?
No, and the handyman stuff, it's been well over a year since doing anything like that.
You're capable of doing that kind of stuff, correct?
On the side,
Yeah.
I mean, if I still had tools to facilitate that, I mean, I could in my free time, but there isn't very much free time in life anymore.
All right, so you have life insurance with O'Neill Construction?
I did, O'Neill Steel, yes.
O'Neill Steel, I'm sorry. So how much is your life insurance that you have with them?
$230,000.
$230,000? Who's the listed beneficiary for that?
Pearson.
I'm sorry?
At this moment in time, Pearson.
You heard Mr. Ford testify you're living in a camper, you know, that situation. Did you buy a new camper?
Reside in the new camper.
Yeah, how much was that?
I didn't buy it.
How'd you get it?
It belongs to my grandparents.
What kind of vehicle do you have nowadays?
I have a Ford Explorer,
What year?
2016.
Where'd you get it?
Carmar to Bowling Green.
How much did you pay for it?
$27,000.
It paid for now?
No. No, it's valued about $8,000 to $9,000, and I still owe $22,000.
How long have you had it?
8 months.
When we did the discovery, you separated from Miss Graman, correct?
Say that again?
When you filled out the discovery for me, do you remember filling out the discovery for me?
If I did anything for you, I'd have been separated from Miss Graman.
Yeah, you were
before that.
separated from Miss Graman at that time. And the divorce has been filed, obviously. That's what precipitated the discovery, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So you answered like checking, savings, retirement accounts, that you had a checking account that had $2,344.47 in it. Is that correct?
I don't have it in front of me. I mean, it's likely that it could have been before a rent payment was due or something along them lines.
I want to hand you a page out of your, I'll give you the whole discovery you want. I want to hand you a page out of there and see if you recognize that as the answer to the question.
The question is there an account that has that amount of money in it? Yes, according to this, that account has $2,344 in it.
That's a Regions account.
Yeah, I believe that's what it said.
Yeah.
It's only people I bank with.
You had a Sea-Doo jet ski listed here, had no debt. You said you sold it for $1,600. When did you sell that Sea-Doo jet ski?
Before my son was born.
All right.
Oh, almost 4 years ago, probably. Before the Chevy Avalanche was bought. Right in that same month time span.
That's all I have.
Right. Thank you. You can step down. All right. Mr. Graman hold on. Mr. Graman had waived his right to put on any proof in his direct case. Ms. Smith, do you have anything you want to add to this proceeding? If you'll come up to the podium, so I know you love to do that.
And my guardian, I want to say that I was kind of shocked that Mr. Graman didn't ask why any questions about the child. I mean, I know that is just only a part of these proceedings, but I would think it would be a big part. He didn't take advantage of the visit that was scheduled on April 12th. It had been scheduled. The supervisor was ready, willing, and able to go. That's all. That's my part of it. Just the child, and I was kind of shocked that he did not bring that up.
So what we have is the final hearing, and I'm going to deal with the easy things if there is anything first. Mrs. Graman is awarded a divorce on the grounds of inappropriate marital conduct. The property issue, there is no real property. The court finds that the .22 pistol and the .380, both of these are M&P, but in any event, the .22 pistol and the .380 pistol were acquired by her prior to the marriage, and therefore they are her separate property, and therefore she is awarded both of those items of personal property. Court further finds that the engagement ring, by classification as having been acquired obviously prior to the marriage as a gift, would be by law classified as her separate property, and therefore she is awarded that engagement ring as well. The Ford Focus, which she is driving, has a value of $4,500, and she is awarded that vehicle. As far as I know, the Chevy Avalanche still in existence. We understand that to be still in existence, and it is not a vehicle that he is currently driving, since he has acquired another vehicle. The 2000 Yamaha motorcycle, the 1990 Chevrolet Corvette, I find that that $2,000 Chevrolet Corvette, there's some well, the testimony is it's in her name and she acquired it. And the camper, pop-up camper, that's $300 to $400. But then I look at the debts that are in her name, and that's the only proof I have, according to this income and expense statement, or rather the asset and property list that was produced. The debts that are incurred in her name are marital debts. They were all incurred during the marriage, and they were all incurred, all four of them were incurred for marital purposes. As a result of that, I'm of the opinion that to offset the fact that these debts are in her name, that she should be awarded the Chevrolet Avalanche, the Yamaha motorcycle, and the 1990 Chevrolet Corvette, and the pop-up camper. Those are the majority of the items of personal property which have any value, but I do that because of the fact that she's being required to have to pay those debts that are in her name. And as a result of that, those items can be liquidated in order to offset those debts, along with the engagement ring, which has some value. Selling all of those items will, and applying that to the debt, would, I think, give her an opportunity to extinguish the majority of those debts. I have no proof about Mr. Graman having any debts in his name, since there was no other proof, but there is proof that he has acquired a vehicle, a Ford Explorer, and he will be awarded that Ford Explorer subject to that debt. I think that all the other personal property that's in each of their possession will be awarded their personal property, and the court finds that that division of property has already occurred. So other than the things that I've specifically mentioned, like the pistol and the engagement ring, those things will need to be returned within the next 10 days and turned over to Mrs. Graman. Pardon? Not all of those vehicles are what? Well, I have given you an opportunity to present proof, and you failed to take advantage of it. So I'm basing my ruling on what the testimony before me is. You will have the opportunity to deal with that in the form of a motion, if that's what you choose to do. But right now, all I can do is rule based on what the proof has been. So then I move to the issue of the parenting plan. Clearly, the court is required to look to the statutory factors in determining child custody that are set forth on 36.6.106. And those include the strength, nature, and stability of the child's relationship with each parent, whether one parent has performed the majority of parenting responsibilities relating to the daily needs of the child. Clearly, and without question, in this case, Mrs. Graman has been the child's primary caregiver, primary parent, and she has the strongest and most stable relationship with this child. That factor favors her. Each parent's past and potential for future performance of parenting responsibilities, including the willingness and ability of each parent to facilitate and encourage the close and continuing parent relationship between the child and both of the child's parents. In my opinion, that also favors the mother because of the simple fact that she has been the one who is providing care for the child. Testimony is there's been no child support paid by the father over the last 2 months. One of our old judges, Judge Alla Wallace, used to say that if it was up to Mr. Graman to feed and provide for this child, the child would be dead by starvation at this point. And that is true. He has not fulfilled his obligations. Don't have any information about whether he's completed a parent education seminar. I don't believe that's been supplied to the court, and for that reason, that factor would favor the mother who has completed that. The disposition of each parent to provide the child with food, clothing, medical care. I've already made a finding that Mr. Graman has failed to fulfill his obligation to provide care. Child support as provided in the court order. We're not here on a motion for contempt, although I'm sure that may be forthcoming in the future, but at this point in time, that factor favors the mother as well. The degree to which each parent has been the primary caregiver, and clearly that has been the mother who has provided that. The love, affection, and emotional ties existing between each parent and the child. I'm of the opinion that again favors the mother, although I don't question that Mr. Graman loves his child, but I think that under the circumstances, he has failed to exercise his visitation that was ordered and has opted not seeing the child for the last 2 months. Emotional needs and developmental level of the child. The child's I don't have any evidence that the child is having any problems with developmental level. The moral, physical, mental, and emotional fitness of each child as it relates to the ability to parent the child. And the court may order an examination under Rule 35. I did order a Rule 35 examination of both parties. That examination didn't reveal any problems with the mother, but it did reveal problems with Mr. Graman that were needing to be addressed. Mr. Graman has supervised visitation, and it was stated that as the recommendations of Dr. Berryman in her report stated, it's very important for Brian to be able to maintain some consistency in his therapeutic relationship with a new therapist for at least several months who can advocate for his current mental and emotional status relating to having unsupervised visits with Pearson. In that particular situation, I don't have any evidence that Mr. Graman is actually seeing a therapist or has been maintaining that. And again, he opted not to present any proof. Increasing, and her other recommendation was increasing some supervised visits would be appropriate, and perhaps they don't have to be strenuously supervised. When a report from the therapist can be produced, then I could consider unsupervised. I don't have, again, a therapist to give me any recommendations that Mr. Graman has been seeing. The prior therapist, if I recall this correctly, at a temporary hearing, had not been exposed to the recordings, and some of his recommendations were completely reversed after having heard some of the recordings made in the situation. So it is this court's opinion that that factor clearly favors Mrs. Graman. You cannot listen. I understand people don't always speak the way I speak, and that people don't always have the same consideration for the use of profanity that I may think to be appropriate. And I don't try to apply my standard of that factor on other people. But when I hear again, what I heard before, and I have no reason to think that has necessarily changed with Mr. Graman. When I hear the language that was used, this child doesn't deserve to live in an environment being subjected to that type of language and that type of temperament and so forth. In my opinion, the proof in this case has shown that Mr. Graman has a volatile temper that is yet to be dealt with or under control, and that he has failed to provide an adequate environment for this minor child. The ninth factor is the child's interaction and interrelationships with siblings, relatives, and other step relatives, and I don't really have anything about that. The importance of continuity in the child's life. This is, in my opinion, again, factoring the factor that favors the mother because the child has been living in her stable environment. The evidence of physical, emotional abuse of the child or to the other parent or to any other person, including the child's siblings. I find that factor does favor the mother because I find that the proof has been that Mr. Graman has been emotionally abusive to Mrs. Graman. Anytime you ask somebody to go buy something for you in a store and they don't get it, and then you curse them up one side and down another and tell them they didn't do the one thing that you told them to do, that is both demeaning and emotionally abusive in this court's opinion. Character and behavior of any other person resides in or frequents the home of the parent. Testimony is that Mr. Graman has, according to Mr. Ford at least, has a new person in his life, and I congratulate him on that if that's a good relationship, and he may be pending to have another child brought into this world. And the fact of the matter is that I don't have that person before me to testify, so I cannot assert that that person is a good influence or a bad influence over this minor child. So therefore, that factor would favor the mother and not be a factor in favor of the father. The parents' employment schedule and so forth, I don't have anything else about that. Other factors relevant by the court, I do believe that the court finds that there are other factors that I've mentioned, the recordings which are demonstrating a volatile makeup of Mr. Graman and a swaggering type of disposition that he believes that he can threaten or harass Mrs. Graman, or that he can, and I'm going to go back to this. When I set up that supervised visitation in the church with the maternal grandmother, and Mr. Graman showed up by this exhibit, which was exhibit number 3, with a pistol in his back waistband, clearly demonstrating that pistol for the use. That was nothing more than intimidation. And while he testified at the prior hearing that he was doing that because he felt like he needed that for safety's sake, that was nothing more than an attempt to intimidate and threaten. And I think that type of bullying is, again, the issue that I have with this case. And number 16, whether the parent has failed to pay court-ordered child support for a period of 3 years or more, that doesn't apply, but he has failed to pay for the last 2 months. So all of those factors that I've mentioned favor the mother overwhelmingly, and none of those factors favor the father. So it is clear that the mother will be the primary residential parent of this minor child. Mr. Graman has been awarded supervised visitation. Nothing before this court indicates to me that that supervision should be lifted or changed. And in fact, I find that the supervision of his visitation is going to have to be by someone other than a family member of Mrs. Graman. And I am making it a permanent restriction right now until there's I'm not setting this case for future review because there's been no progress in it. I am making it a final order that he will have supervised visitation under a supervisor that is approved by the guardian ad litem, and if he chooses to exercise his visitation, so be it. If he doesn't, then that's his option as well. If he fails to visit with the child for a long enough period, there are remedies that will take place at that point. But in my opinion, he can exercise his supervised visitation And once that has been done for a period of time, it'll be up to him to file a petition with the court to modify that and increase his level of visitation. I am not inclined to set a visitation or a review of this down the road. It is not my job to try to make him a better father or to make him exercise the supervised visitation. It is my job to ensure the benefit of this child, and that's what I've done. So if he uses the visitation that is provided, then comes back in at a later date by filing a petition to modify, I think that would be certainly a change of material circumstances that would warrant increasing his visitation and considering unsupervised. But I'm not setting this again for a hearing. This has been pending too long, and the parties need to have some finality. So that is the court's order. He will be ordered to pay child support based upon the proof before this court of $26.50 an hour for a 40-hour week. And I'm not requiring him to be considered for the handyman position. I don't think a father ought to have to work more than one job just to pay child support. So he'll be ordered to pay child support based on that. Her income was testified to. She'll be ordered, or rather, the child support will be calculated based on what her proof has been. And he's required to maintain the insurance, but he'll get a credit for the cost of that insurance. And that is the proof of the court. That is the judgment of the court. In this case, you can submit your affidavit of attorney's fees, Mr. Hawley. Obviously, the court will consider it. I'm not saying that will be that I will award a large amount. He doesn't have the financial ability to pay a large amount, and attorney's fees are in the form of alimony in a sense, and she has been awarded the majority of the items that we have to try to offset the debt she's incurred, so I don't know that he'll have the ability. So that is the judgment of the court. Mr. Hawley will draw the order and submit it to the court and copy it to Mr. Graman. All right, this case is concluded, and we will move to the next case.